Hello everyone. Cases of sexual abuse committed by Islamic teachers in Indonesia are very common. However, this case is rather unique because the victims were 43 male students. How's the story? Watch this video until the end, okay? Now, this news is from BBC News Indonesia. Chronology of the alleged sexual violence case against 43 students in Agam. Victims experienced deep trauma and stigma. August 2, 2024. Dozens of male students have become victims of alleged sexual violence committed by two teachers at an Islamic boarding school in Agam Regency, West Sumatra. The police have named two teachers as suspects. However, one of the victims is experiencing deep trauma and stigma, according to his attorney. The alleged sexual assault case came to light when police in Bukit Tinggi received a report from one of the students' guardians last July. Police then arrested two alleged perpetrators, with the initials RA, a 29-year-old man, and AA, a 23-year-old man, last week. In the latest developments, the number of victims of alleged sexual abuse against male students has increased to 43 from the previous 40 people. The number of victims as of Friday, August 2nd, has increased to 43 people. The three new victims were obtained from the results of examining witnesses and suspects, said head of public relations of the Bukit Tinggi Police, Ibtu Maryohan, to journalists in West Sumatra, Halbert Caniago, who reported for BBC News Indonesia, Friday, August 2nd. MTI Kanjuang, the junior high school level Islamic boarding school, where the alleged sexual violence occurred, stressed that it was very serious in handling this case and not covering up what happened. The effort made was to form an internal investigation. The result, according to MTI Kanjuang, was that 3 of the 40 victims were suspected of sodomy, while 37 others were suspected of molestation. The Agam Regency Women's Empowerment, Child Protection and Population Control, and Family Planning Service, DP3AP2KB, is currently providing assistance in trauma healing to the victims. However, the attorney for one of the victims, Ms. Rizal, claimed that his client was not only traumatized by the incident. After deciding to leave MTI Kanjuang, Ms. Rizal said, his client had difficulty finding a new school. Every Islamic boarding school visited by my client's parents rejected students from MTI Kanjuang, said Ms. Rizal, Thursday, August 1st. What is the chronology according to the victim's version? Ms. Rizal explained the information he received from his client regarding the alleged sexual harassment he experienced until the case was revealed. He claims that what his client experienced began in mid-June. The incident began when the perpetrator with the initials RA asked to be massaged by my client and a friend at around 1 o'clock West Indonesian time. Usually, they are often asked to massage their teacher, said Ms. Rizal. According to the victim's statement, conveyed through Ms. Rizal's attorney, RA usually asked for a long massage, but that night, the person concerned only asked for a short time. Instead, said Ms. Rizal, the Islamic boarding school teacher asked the client and his friend to sleep in the living room of the Islamic boarding school instructor's room. That's where the alleged molestation occurred, Ms. Rizal claims. My client immediately rebelled and fought back against the perpetrator, and the perpetrator immediately threatened both of them, he continued. Ms. Rizal said that when they received the warning, both of them remained silent and let the perpetrator carry out his actions. Not only were they forced to do indecent things, Ms. Rizal claimed that the two students were also threatened by the perpetrator not to report the incident to anyone. The perpetrator even asked both of them to swear in the name of Allah not to report the incident to anyone, he said. A week later, RA did the same thing again, with the same method, and in the same place, Ms. Rizal claimed. Feeling that he could no longer stand the threats and sexual harassment carried out by RA, Ms. Rizal revealed that his client decided to report the incident to his parents. My client contacted his parents to ask him to move out of the dormitory and chose to live outside the dormitory. But his parents, who did not realize that something was wrong, asked him to stay in the dormitory, because they were worried about free association outside the dormitory, he said. 3 days later, according to Ms. Reisel, his client contacted his parents again, but they still did not grant his request. On July 11 at around 3 o'clock West Indonesian time, Ms. Reisel claimed that RA again asked his client to massage him. Ms. Reisel claimed that his client was anxious and afraid that the same thing would happen again, so his client initially refused the request, but the teacher forced him. A few days after the incident, Ms. Reisel said, his client felt he could not stand it anymore, and was very afraid to meet RA. On July 21, his client finally contacted his parents, and told them what had happened. Hearing the statement, the father was shocked, and asked him to immediately escape from the Islamic boarding school. During his escape, Ms. Reisel said, his client walked to Bukittinggi City, which was approximately 10 kilometers away. There, he contacted one of his brother's friends to pick him up. After being found by his brother, my client immediately told everything, and went straight to the Bukittinggi police, to report the incident that he experienced, he said. According to Ms. Reisel, after the report was made by his client, the perpetrator RA denied it, and stated that it was slander and defamation. What is the police statement? In a press conference held on July 27, Bukittinggi Police Chief Senior Commissioner, Yesi Kurniadi said, that his party arrested RA, after receiving a report on July 22. The results of further investigations, said Yesi, showed that the alleged victims of sexual violence committed by RA were not just one, but reached 30 male students. Then we conducted an examination of the victim, and it turned out that we also obtained information from the victim, that they also received the same treatment, or indecent treatment, from one of the other teachers, explained Yesi in a press conference. After that, an Islamic boarding school teacher with the initials AA was also arrested. Yesi said that 10 students were victims of alleged sexual violence committed by AA. This act of indecency, said Yesi, is suspected to have been carried out since 2022, with the mode of asking for a massage by the students. That was when, according to Yesi, the alleged act of indecency occurred. If the child doesn't want to, they are threatened with no class, explained Yesi. In the latest developments, Bukittinggi police revealed that the number of victims has increased to 43 students. This new victim was obtained from the results of examining witnesses and suspects, said head of public relations of the Bukittinggi police, Ibtu Maryohan. Meanwhile, the deputy head of the Bukittinggi Police Criminal Investigation Unit, AKP Anidar, revealed that his party had conducted a medical examination on 7 students, who claimed to be victims of the alleged sexual harassment. Yesterday, we conducted a post-mortem on 7 people, and the results will be out in the next week, said Anidar to journalist Albert Caniago, Thursday, August 1. He added that the 2 teachers of the students have been named as suspects. Both are charged with Article 82 Paragraph 2, in conjunction with Article 76 of Law No. 35 of 2014, concerning child protection, with a maximum prison sentence of 15 years. What was the response of the Islamic boarding school and the victim's companion? MTI Kanjuang spokesperson, Khairul Anwar, emphasized that his party had handled the alleged sexual violence case, involving its teachers and students, very seriously. We from MTI Kanjuang are very serious in handling this case, and we always coordinate with the police to continue investigating it, he said. According to him, the proof of the seriousness of MTI Kanjuang in this case is by exposing the case and not covering up what happened. Khairul claimed that MTI Kanjuang had taken steps, such as inviting parents of students, to opening a complaint post. We have formed an internal investigation team. The 40 victims were the result of our internal investigation team. Initially there were only 5 people, he said, adding that of the 40 victims, 3 were suspected of experiencing sodomy, while 37 others were suspected of being victims of sexual harassment. We formed a 10-person legal team, from lawyers and alumni. We evaluated the learning process outside the school, in the dormitory, Kyril said later. Kyril added that his party had coordinated with a network of psychologists to conduct psychological examinations and assistance for the victims. Head of the Women's Empowerment, Child Protection and Population Control and Family Planning Service, DP3AP2KB, of Agam Regency, Surya Wendry said that his party had gone to the field to conduct psychological examinations. His party also provided assistance, including accompanying the victim during the examination at the Bukittinggi police. The team will accompany all victims to overcome their trauma. But this will take quite a long time, said Surya, Thursday, August 1st. Trauma and negative stigma. The attorney for one of the victims, Ms. Rizal, admitted that his client had experienced very deep trauma after the bitter incident he experienced. In fact, when he heard the name Mti Kanjuang, he immediately cried, said Ms. Rizal. The student finally chose to stop attending Mti Kanjuang, said Ms. Rizal. He hopes that his client will receive trauma healing so that he can return to school and live a normal life. However, Ms. Rizal claims, it is not easy to find a new Islamic boarding school to study at. Every Islamic boarding school visited by my client's parents rejected students from Mti Kanjuang, said Ms. Rizal. This, said Ms. Rizal, cannot be separated from the negative stigma that victims of harassment like this will usually look for new victims. Responding to this, Surya Wendry from the Women's Empowerment, Child Protection and Population Control and Family Planning Service of Agam Regency emphasized that his party would provide assistance until the victims could forget the bitter incident that had befallen the 40 victims. The most important thing here is to break the chain of the possibility of victims becoming perpetrators in subsequent incidents, he concluded. Sociologist from Andalas University in West Sumatra, Indasari Ramani, said that victims of sexual harassment, especially in Minangkabau, will indeed experience a negative stigma. As a result of this negative stigma, Inda said, victims feel isolated from society and feel humiliated. This is what makes cases of sexual harassment that occur in schools and campuses difficult to uncover, said Inda. She emphasized that the public should be able to understand that sexual harassment cases are not a disgrace for the victim, but a criminal act that must be eradicated. According to her, the view towards victims of sexual harassment must start from the family level, peers, and community, such as traditional figures, religious scholars, and intellectuals. Parents should also not give negative stigma to the victim. It is possible that the treatment received by the child occurred because of threats, she said. Furthermore, Inda emphasized that protecting victims of sexual harassment is not only the responsibility of the state, but of the entire community. Because the victim lives in the midst of society, of course society should not give a negative stigma to the victim, she concluded. Well, that's the news about Islamic teachers who sexually abuse 43 male students in Indonesia. This case is not the first time it has happened. There have been many similar cases. This is just a record for the most male students victims that have been revealed to the public. Of course, there are many more cases of sexual abuse committed by Islamic teachers against female students. So don't be fooled by Islamic teachers who look kind and polite. We don't know how many victims they have sexually abuse behind that. So, that's all for this video, and stay away from Islam. If you find this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. See you in the next video.
Sulbi. Emak bini anak angkat, babi haram babu halal.